everybody, and happy Friday. So I was just kind of flipping through to see where we were at, and we're about to finish chapter 10. And there's not, other than the chapter title page that has a picture on it, there's not a whole lot of pictures for the next 10-ish pages. So if you wanted to listen without watching, it really is going to mostly be my face on the screen for the next 10 or so pages. So that's probably Friday, Monday, and maybe even Tuesday. Just so you know, if you want to stare at my face, that's fine too. Okay? Let's see. Oh, is that all? Said Harry angrily. I don't suppose you're going to tell me why you wanted me home in pieces? Oh, if Harry Potter only knew, Dobby groaned, more tears dripping onto his ragged pillowcase. If he knew what it means to us, the lowly, the enslaved, us dregs of the magical world. Dobby remembers how it was when he who must not be named was at the height of his power, sir. We house elves were treated like vermin, sir. Of course, Dobby is still treated like that, sir, he admitted, drying his face on the pillowcase. But mostly, sir, life has improved for my kind since you triumphed over he who must not be named. Harry Potter survived, and the Dark Lord's power was broken. And it was a new dawn, sir, and Harry Potter shone like a beacon of hope for those around us who thought the dark days would never end, sir. And now at Hogwarts, terrible things are to happen, and perhaps happening already. And Dobby cannot let Harry Potter stay here now that history is to repeat itself. Now that the Chamber of Secrets is open once more. Dobby froze, horror-struck, then grabbed Harry's water jug from his bedside table and cracked it over his own head, toppling out of sight. A second later, he crawled back onto the bed, cross-eyed and muttering, "Bad Dobby! Very bad Dobby!" So this is kind of what I was talking about in the video yesterday, where they kind of make light of that scenario where he's doing something that harms himself. And they kind of make it silly, and I know that happens in cartoons and TV shows and a lot of books. But I don't know. As an adult, it's something that makes me uncomfortable. Maybe your parents feel the same way. He seized the elf's bony wrist as Dobby was hand inched towards the water jug. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I got ahead. A second later, he crawled back to the bed, cross-eyed and muttering, "Bad Dobby, very bad Dobby." "So there is a Chamber of Secrets?" Harry whispered. "And did you say it's been opened before? Tell me, Dobby." He seized the elf's bony wrist as Dobby's hand inched towards the water jug. "But I'm not Muggle-born. How can I be in danger from the chamber?" "Ask no more, sir. Ask no more of poor Dobby," stammered the elf, his eyes huge in the dark. "Dark deeds are planned in this place, but Harry Potter must not be here when they happen. Go home, Harry Potter. Go home. Harry Potter must not meddle in this, sir. 'Tis too dangerous." "Who is it, Dobby?" Harry said, keeping a firm hold on Dobby's wrist to stop him from hitting himself with the water jug again. "Who's opened it? Who opened it last time?" "Dobby can't, sir. Dobby can't. Dobby mustn't tell," squealed the elf. "Go home, Harry Potter. Go home." "I'm not going anywhere," said Harry fiercely. "One of my best friends is Muggle-born. She'll be first in line if the Chamber of Secrets really has been opened." "Harry Potter risks his own life for his friends," moaned Dobby in a kind of miserable ecstasy. "So noble, so valiant. But he must save himself. He must. Harry Potter must not." Dobby suddenly froze, his bat ears quivering. Harry heard it too. There were footsteps coming down the passageway outside. "Dobby must go," breathed the elf, terrified. There was a loud crack, and Harry's fist was suddenly clenched on thin air. He slumped back into bed, his eyes on the dark doorway to the hospital wing as the footsteps drew nearer. Next moment, Dumbledore was backing into the dormitory, wearing a long, woolly dressing gown and a nightcap. He was carrying one end of what looked like a statue. Professor McGonagall appeared a second later, carrying its feet. Together, they heaved it onto a bed. "Get Madame Pomfrey," whispered Dumbledore, and Professor McGonagall hurried past the end of Harry's bed and out of sight. Harry lay quite still, pretending to be asleep. He heard urgent voices, and then Professor McGonagall swept back into view, closely followed by Madame Pomfrey, who was pulling a cardigan on over her nightgown. He heard a sharp intake of breath. "What happened?" Madame Pomfrey whispered to Dumbledore, bending over the statue on the bed. "Another attack," said Dumbledore. "Minerva found him on the stairs. There was a bunch of grapes next..." Sorry, I can't remember McGonagall's voice. "There was a bunch of grapes next to him," said Professor McGonagall. No, that wasn't it. "We think he was trying to sneak up here to visit Potter." I can't remember her voice right now. Harry's stomach gave a horrible lurch. Slowly and carefully, he raised himself a few inches so he could look at the statue on the bed. A ray of moonlight lay across it, across its staring face. It was Colin Creevey. His eyes were wide, and his hands were stuck in front of him, holding his camera. "Petrified?" whispered Madame Pomfrey. "Yes," said Professor McGonagall. "But I shudder to think, if Albus hadn't been on the way downstairs for hot chocolate, who knows what might have..." The three of them stared down at Colin. Then Dumbledore leaned forward and prized the camera out of Colin's rigid grip. "You don't think he managed to get a picture of his attacker?" said Professor McGonagall eagerly. Dumbledore didn't answer. He prized open the back of the camera. "Good gracious," said Madame Pomfrey. A jet of steam had hissed out of the camera. Harry, 3 beds away, caught the acrid smell of burnt plastic. "Melted," said Madame Pomfrey wonderingly. "All melted." "What does this mean, Albus?" Professor McGonagall asked urgently. "It means," said Dumbledore, "that the Chamber of Secrets is indeed open again." Madame Pomfrey clapped her hand to her mouth. Professor McGonagall stared at Dumbledore. "But Albus, surely, who?" "The question is not who," said Dumbledore, his eyes on Colin. "The question is, how?" And from what Harry could see of Professor McGonagall's shadowy face, she didn't understand this any better than he did. That's the end of the chapter of the Rogue Bludger, and we are creeping up on our 10-minute mark, so I think we're going to call it even there on a cliffhanger. The next chapter I will show you is chapter 11, called The Dueling Club. And I'm anxious to see when Dobby returns because, man, that voice is tiring. It's so hard. I'm sure it's hard to... I can't even play the video back because I'm sure it's a hard voice to listen to also. But it's definitely fun. Okay. I hope you all have an absolutely lovely weekend. I miss you, and I hope that your week has been great, and I hope that you have some fun this weekend without work to do. All right? Have a great day or night whenever you're watching this.